You know that feeling? Looking up at the night sky, and there it is, that familiar, enigmatic presence, the moon. It's been the silent watch over humanity for, well, forever, captivating us. Its beauty, its cycles, it's mysterious. But what if, that familiar face hides something profound, something unsettling? Today, we're doing a deep dive into something called Tsuki, the artificial moon control conspiracy theory. Tsuki, it's the Japanese word for moon. Kind of fits that mysterious vibe, doesn't it? Our mission here is to explore this really detailed, speculative narrative. It's built on a lot of common conspiracy tropes, actually. We'll dissect the claims. Is the moon artificial? What's its supposed purpose? What's the evidence? And is there this huge cover-up? We're aiming to pull out the important nuggets of knowledge, the insights from the sources you shared with us on this one.
Yeah, it's quite something. This theory, it doesn't just question one little fact about space. It potentially flips our whole understanding of reality on its head. The idea that our closest celestial neighbor, the moon, might actually be this massive, intelligently designed thing with its own agenda. It's definitely a profound thought experiment, putting it mildly.
Okay, so to really get why this theory even exists, why it has legs, we kind of need to start where these ideas often sprout from observations that honestly make even scientists pause for a second. What are some of those genuine scientific quirks about the moon? The stuff that makes you go, that is a bit odd.
Exactly. And there are a few genuinely unusual things when you look closely. Take its size, for instance. Compared to Earth, its diameter is about a quarter of ours. That's actually really big for a natural satellite in relation to its planet. Then there's its orbit. It's remarkably stable, very predictable, and almost a perfect circle. And of course, the synchronous rotation. How it always shows us the same face. These are all solid scientific facts, the basics of how the moon behaves.
Right. And it's not just the stuff we can see easily. Our sources dig into some deeper data points that get reinterpreted, yeah.
I'm thinking about that whole ring it like a bell thing. That just sounds bizarre. Did that actually happen?
Oh, it absolutely did. During the Apollo missions, yeah. They did these intentional impacts, crashed parts of the spacecraft, like the lunar modules, the Saturn V rocket stages onto the surface, and the seismic sensors they left. They recorded the moon vibrating, literally ringing, for up to an hour afterwards. It was a genuine scientific observation, and it definitely surprised the researchers back then. And beyond that, there's the moon's average density. It's quite a bit less than Earth's, about 3.3 grams per cubic centimeter, versus Earth's 5.5. Now, to proponents of this Tsuki theory, that suggests maybe a less dense core, or, maybe even a hollow interior. And we also know about mass concentrations. These are areas under the surface with unusually high gravity. They often line up with big impact basins, suggesting the mass inside isn't spread out evenly. It really does make you wonder, doesn't it? That almost too perfect orbit, or the weird ringing. It's the kind of cosmic weirdness that almost begs for a story, a deeper explanation. And it feels like humanity's always been looking for one, right? Given how the moon shows up in myths and folklore across the globe.
That's a perfect way to put it. Just think about ancient mythology. In Japan, you have Tsuki no Mikoto, the moon god. And across so many cultures, the moon's tied to everything: lunacy, fertility, the ocean tides. It just shows how deep that sense of mystical significance runs in our collective consciousness. We've always looked up and wondered.
Okay, but these intriguing observations, these anomalies, they're just the launch pad, right? This is where the Tsuki theory really blasts off. It claims the moon isn't just unusual, it's a massive, intelligently designed, hollow, artificial construct. So for the people who believe this, how do they make that leap? From odd to artificial?
Well, they take that ringing like a bell data and the lower density, and they see it as direct proof, like undeniable evidence. To them, it must mean it's hollow or maybe metallic, engineered somehow, like hitting a giant, perfectly made gong. And that perfect orbit, its exact size fitting perfectly over the sun for total solar eclipses. They argue that's just too precise to be a coincidence. It implies deliberate placement, intelligent design.
Which immediately brings up the big question, okay, if it is artificial, who built it?
Exactly, the architects. The theory branches out here. The most common version points to ancient, highly advanced aliens, some extraterrestrial civilization way beyond us.
Okay, aliens, that's kind of the classic conspiracy go-to.
It is. But there's another, less common, but maybe even more fascinating idea mentioned in our sources. That it was built by a lost ancient Earth civilization, like Atlantis or Lemuria, possessing tech we can't even imagine.
Atlantis built the moon. Wow, okay. So regardless of who supposedly built it, why? What's the chilling purpose behind this massive construct?
Right, the why. This is where the theory gets really profound and honestly pretty disturbing for a lot of people. The moon, in this view, is a multi-layered control mechanism. A really key part is this idea of consciousness and emotional manipulation. It's often linked to something called the loosh connection.
Loosh. Okay, you gotta unpack that one. What is loosh?
Yeah, loosh is this concept that human suffering, negative emotions, fear, anxiety, anger, depression, actually generate a kind of energetic byproduct. And this energy, this loosh, is supposedly harvested by unseen entities, often called archons in these theories, as a form of sustenance.
Harvested, like food, energetic food.
Essentially, yes. And the moon, the artificial moon in this theory, acts as the central device. It's supposedly emitting specific frequencies or energy fields. These fields influence us, maybe dulling our awareness, suppressing critical thinking, or even blocking psychic abilities. And crucially, they subtly amplify those negative emotions that generate the loosh. So the moon becomes this giant harvesting machine, ensuring a steady supply.
Okay, that's dark. Wow. Consciousness control and energy harvesting. What else?
It's also seen as a giant orbital surveillance station, a hidden platform constantly watching Earth. And that dark side, technically the far side, the one we never see from Earth, that's supposedly where the hidden alien bases or control centers are located. Perfect hiding spot, right?
Makes sense in a conspiracy logic kind of way.
And there are other alleged purposes mentioned too. Things like weather or geological manipulation, maybe even guiding human evolution that connects to ideas like directed panspermia, where life on Earth was seeded or guided. And then you get the really dark versions. The moon is a kind of soul trap, a prison for reincarnation, keeping souls locked in this cycle, maybe to ensure that loosh supply keeps flowing.
A soul trap. Okay. So if you follow the theory all the way through, the agenda of these supposed Tsuki architects, whoever they are, seems pretty clear. Humanity is basically a resource to be cultivated. Earth is some kind of vast experiment. And the goal is total hidden control, stopping us from reaching our true potential. It's a bleak picture.
Extremely bleak.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the next big question. If any of this were true, this monumental secret, why isn't it common knowledge? How could it possibly stay hidden? This leads proponents straight into the idea of a massive ongoing cover-up.
Absolutely. And the list of alleged suppressors is long. Governments, naturally, often framed as the deep state or the military-industrial complex. They're accused of either being in secret alliances with the moon builders, maybe trading tech for silence, or being subtly controlled themselves, or perhaps terrified of the global panic if the truth got out.
Right. Panic is a big motivator in these narratives.
Then you have the space agencies. NASA's always front and center, but also ESA or Roscosmos. They're accused of faking the Apollo missions, or at least parts of them, specifically to hide what they really found up there. Accusations of censoring data, altering photos and videos, hiding scientific readings, basically pushing the natural satellite story at all costs.
So manipulating the evidence or lack thereof.
Exactly. And the scientific establishment itself isn't spared. They're painted as either, blinkered by their own paradigms, unwilling to see the truth, or maybe even actively complicit, suppressing inconvenient data to protect their careers, their funding, the whole system.
And religion, too, I imagine.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Religious institutions, whose core beliefs about creation and the cosmos would be completely shattered, are often included in the list of suppressors. And pulling the strings behind it all, according to the theory, some kind of global elite or shadow government orchestrating everything, benefiting from humanity, being kept in this controlled, unaware state.
Okay, so that's who they think is covering it up. What about how? What are the alleged methods?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. Data manipulation is key, altering photos to remove structures, scrubbing weird signals from recordings, that sort of thing. Strict control over who gets to go to the moon and what data comes back.
Yeah.
Psychological operations, psyops, are mentioned a lot. Things like deliberately ridiculing anyone who questions the official story.
Calling them lunatics.
Precisely. Using that term, derived from Luna, the moon, to dismiss them. It's seen as a deliberate tactic. Also, silencing whistleblowers, people who supposedly try to reveal the truth, and just generally using distraction, keeping humanity focused on earthly problems, entertainment, whatever, so we don't look up and ask the really big questions.
It paints a picture of a really pervasive, deep-seated effort to keep this secret locked down. Now, for the people who buy into the Tsuki theory, they aren't just speculating wildly, right? They point to specific things they see as actual evidence. What are the main pieces they highlight?
Right, they have their list of proofs. Let's go through them from their perspective. That ringing like a bell phenomenon we discussed. For them, that's Exhibit A. Undeniable proof, they say, of a hollow, maybe metallic engineered structure. like hitting a giant gong in space.
Okay, the ringing. What else?
The unusual density and composition, being so much less dense than Earth. That points directly, they argue, to a hollow interior or maybe deliberate construction using lighter artificial materials.
Makes sense if you assume it's built, yeah.
Then the perfect orbit and size for eclipses. That uncanny precision where the moon exactly covers the sun. They see that as a deliberate design feature. A cosmic tell, if you will. Too perfect to be natural chance. It must have been placed there purposefully.
The Goldilocks moon, basically.
Kind of, yeah. And then you get into the visual stuff, which can be really compelling for believers. These so-called impossible lunar anomalies, they point to tons of alleged sightings, often by amateur astronomers looking through telescopes or by reanalyzing old NASA photos. Things like strange lights moving on the surface, geometric shapes, things that look like towers or domes, even moving objects.
Like structures, actual buildings.
That's what they claim. They see these as direct visual proof of alien bases or surveillance equipment or mining operations, you name it. And the fact that the far side is always hidden from Earth, perfect spot for a secret base, right? Out of sight, out of mind.
Okay, the visual anomalies. That seems like a big pillar for them.
It is. And they also reinterpret history and myth. Certain ancient legends, like some Zulu traditions, or myths from various cultures that speak of a time before the moon, or stories about the moon being brought here, they see these not as myths, but as fragmented historical memories of the moon's actual arrival or construction.
So, mythology as hidden history.
Exactly. Even the Japanese moon deity, Tsuki no Mikoto, gets reinterpreted as maybe a symbolic nod to the alien intelligence behind the moon. Oh, and sometimes Admiral Byrd's cryptic remarks get pulled in.
The explorer, Antarctica.
Yeah, alleged diary entries or statements attributed to him talking about secret areas beyond the pole or encountering other civilizations. Sometimes people try to link that to hidden entrances, maybe to the moon's interior or bases communicating with it. It's a bit of a stretch, but it gets woven in.
Interesting connection. Any others?
One more that pops up is the lunar wave. This is a phenomenon occasionally caught on camera by amateur astronomers, these strange, wave-like distortions seemingly moving across the moon's surface. Proponents interpret these as maybe energetic emissions from the control mechanism, or perhaps malfunctions in a cloaking device, or even the movement of massive hidden structures.
Wow, okay, so a whole collection of anomalies, reinterpreted data, and historical readings. That's the case for Tsuki. But now, let's bring it back down to Earth, so to speak. What does the overwhelming scientific consensus say? How does mainstream science explain away all these points that proponents see as proof?
Right, and this is where science offers robust natural explanations that really dismantle the Tsuki theory piece by piece. First off, moon formation. The leading theory, the giant impact hypothesis, is really well supported by evidence. The idea that a Mars-sized object called Theia slammed into the early Earth, and the moon formed from the ejected debris. This actually explains its size relative to Earth, its composition mostly mantle material, and its orbital characteristics quite well, without needing aliens or Atlantis.
So the formation is explained naturally. What about the ringing? That still sounds weird.
It does sound weird, but the explanation isn't hollowness. It's about the moon's physical properties. Unlike Earth, the moon is incredibly dry, cold, and its interior is highly fractured, but also very rigid, what scientists call anelastic. It doesn't absorb or dampen vibrations efficiently like Earth's warmer, more fluid interior does. So seismic waves from an impact just keep bouncing around for a long time without losing much energy. It rings, yes, but because it's dry and fractured, not because it's a hollow metal ball.
Okay, so it's like hitting solid, brittle rock versus hitting something damp.
That's a decent analogy, yeah. The waves just propagate much further for much longer.
Got it. And the lower density then, if it's not hollow.
That's completely consistent with the giant impact model. The moon formed mostly from the ejected mantle of the early Earth and Theia, which is naturally less dense than Earth's heavy iron core. Our models of the moon's interior, based on seismic data and gravity measurements, show a small, possibly partially molten core, a thick mantle, and a crust. No big empty space required. It fits the density perfectly.
Okay, density explained. What about that perfect eclipse coincidence that still feels uncanny?
It is uncanny. It's a genuinely amazing cosmic coincidence, unique to Earth and our solar system right now. But here's the key. It's not permanent. The moon is actually slowly drifting away from Earth by about 3.8 centimeters or an inch and a half every year. It's due to tidal forces. This means that billions of years ago, the moon looked much bigger in the sky, and in the distant future, it will look smaller. Total solar eclipses are a temporary phenomenon in Earth's long history.
So the perfection is just a snapshot in time, not a fixed design.
Exactly. Its slow recession is well understood natural physics, not evidence of artificial placement. If it was perfectly placed, why is it moving away?
Good point. Okay, what about all those visual anomalies, the lights, the structures?
Science has pretty mundane explanations for most of those. Lights or flashes. Often meteoroid impacts tiny rocks hitting the surface. Or maybe natural outgassing from the moon's interior. Or just sunlight reflecting off surfaces at funny angles. Those structures people see in photos. Almost always attributed to pareidolia, our brains are wired to see patterns, faces, shapes, even in random arrangements of rocks and shadows.
Like seeing shapes in clouds.
Precisely. Or it could be optical illusions caused by lighting, simple camera artifacts, pixelation, or just natural geological features like crater rims or boulders casting long shadows. Crucially, there is zero verifiable, high-resolution photographic evidence from lunar orbiters showing anything artificial, despite decades of mapping.
And the dark side being a hidden base.
Well, it's not dark, first of all. It gets just as much sunlight as the near side. We just call it the far side because it's tidally locked, always facing away from us. Tidal locking is a super common gravitational phenomenon throughout the solar system. It doesn't imply anything sinister, just orbital mechanics.
Okay, so natural explanations cover most of the physical evidence. What about the myths and the whistleblowers?
Ancient myths are generally understood by anthropologists and historians as metaphorical, symbolic stories. Ways for ancient cultures to explain the cosmos, their place in it, natural cycles, not literal historical records of alien arrivals.
Sure.
As for whistleblowers, there's simply no credible, verified account backed by solid evidence. Lots of claims, sure, but nothing substantiated, nothing declassified from any official source that proves the moon is artificial. And honestly, the sheer logistics of keeping a secret that big, involving potentially thousands, maybe millions of people across multiple countries and agencies for decades, if not millennia, it just strains credulity. Secrets are hard to keep, especially ones of that magnitude.
Right. The scale of the required conspiracy is almost as mind-boggling as the theory itself. So we have these compelling scientific explanations for pretty much everything the Tsuki theory throws out there, yet the theory persists. It's clearly popular. Why? Despite all the debunking, why does this particular idea, this artificial moon controlling us, have such enduring appeal? What's it tapping into?
That's a really fascinating question, isn't it? It goes deep into human psychology, I think. First, just the moon itself. It's always there. That constant, silent presence in our sky, familiar yet fundamentally alien and distant.
Yeah.
It's a natural magnet for our biggest questions, our deepest fears and wonders.
The ultimate blank canvas in the sky.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the sheer allure of the ultimate secret. The idea that our closest celestial neighbor isn't what we think, that it's actually an alien construct, maybe even controlling us. It's like a real-life Matrix scenario. It's profoundly unsettling, sure, but also incredibly captivating. Changes everything.
The ultimate paradigm shift.
Exactly. And it feeds directly into a pre-existing and honestly often understandable distrust of powerful institutions, governments, space agencies. When people already feel skeptical about official narratives, any perceived ambiguity, any data gap, any slightly weird photo can be easily interpreted as proof of deliberate concealment, regardless of the scientific explanation.
Confirmation bias kicks in hard.
Definitely. Then there's just the power of the what if. The implications are just so enormous, rewriting all of human history, proving alien contact, unlocking secrets of cosmic control. It's a narrative that demands attention because the stakes feel so high. It also offers a strangely comforting, simple explanation for very complex problems. Why is there so much conflict, suffering, negativity in the world? Oh, it's the moon's fault. Or the archons. It externalizes the blame.
A grand unifying theory of, well, everything wrong.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of those visual anomalies.
Yeah.
Even if scientists explain them as shadows or rocks, a grainy photo that looks like a tower can be incredibly sticky in the mind. Seeing is believing for many people.
Visuals are powerful.
Hugely. And finally, this theory doesn't exist in a vacuum. It connects really neatly with a whole web of other popular conspiracies. Ancient aliens, archons, luge harvesting, secret government projects, Hollow Earth. They all tend to reinforce each other, creating this larger, interconnected tapestry of hidden truths that feels internally consistent to believers.
It becomes part of a larger worldview.
Precisely. It all fits together in that framework.
Okay, so this deep dive into the Tsuki, the artificial moon control conspiracy, it's taken us from these claims of a hollow, engineered moon designed for control right through to the robust, natural explanations from mainstream science. And it seems pretty clear that while science offers solid answers for the moon's quirks, the ringing, the density, the orbit, the theory itself persists. It seems to endure because of the moon's own powerful mystique, maybe humanity's deep-seated yearning for cosmic significance, for grand narratives, and definitely that pervasive distrust of official stories. So as you gaze upon that familiar face of Tsuki in the night sky, maybe tonight, and you ponder its silent watch, consider these whispers, this profound conspiracy we've talked about. Is it merely a natural satellite, just a product of cosmic chance and physics? Or could it possibly be something more? A monumental hidden artifact, a silent controller? Perhaps the deepest insight here isn't even about the moon itself, but about us. About how our own minds work. How our curiosity mixed with maybe a healthy dose of skepticism and that powerful need to find meaning and patterns, how that can weave these incredibly intricate, compelling stories. Maybe the real deep dive is into the human imagination's relentless quest to find order, or maybe even hidden control in the vast, often random seeming universe around us. What do you think?